Everyone now.
Ah. So interesting. Oh, wow. Thank you, TCAP. I don't think I had any viewers at all. Thank you for helping me start the stream. How was your stream? Wait, did I not follow you before? Like yesterday? Hello, Lumi and Gaffa and Deborah. Wow, like 3 people. Were you all in TCAP's stream, or I'm confused? I did follow you. I just didn't see that you were. I watched a few streams just now before starting my own. Just checking in on some people, but didn't notice you. Sorry. Balance in UI. Okay. I redesigned one of my test levels a little bit here. I fixed the bug I had yesterday. So we can continue with like we can continue solving the original bug. Now there's light on the floor. There's not light there, but I know why. And actually, very nicely, as what on earth? Confused by this, I can tell you. Oh, I see. Yes. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Yeah, when doing problem solving, like debugging last night, it took me a couple of hours at least before I actually solved it. I actually ran into, I think I know now, look at one of the bugs that are really annoying me is, I mean, sure there are these examples of some places being lit up very, more than others, and I mean some of that I think is due to the current technique I'm using. The way that it works, I think it's just not work. I mean, we have a lot of fixing to do in the algorithms because now I'm applying them differently. But there were errors before. Like if we go over here to a fireplace, there were certainly errors. Like you would have a fireplace. Now, of course, again, this is actually the core. It starts here. the light starts here, but that's another bug. But there would be these odd things that. Places that are like adjacent to a light source, or like here you see other places are brighter. It should go brightest, less bright, less bright. As you can see, it does kind of there, but then suddenly there's a part over there that's brighter than. Imagine that this is brighter, right? It should be. I think I discovered why that happens, which I'm very pleased about. Some of this, and let's just I restructure the level a little bit to kind of look at how the new lighting system works, and we can see some things working exactly the way I wanted them to. Like for example here, light is now blocked. Light coming from this here light source is blocked by the wall. It would not be before. And you can even see that here, like it spreads out in this direction. It is blocked by the walls. It was even clearer over here, I believe. Yeah, here, look at that. It's like a bar of light. Now, yeah, sure, this wall is illuminated to some extent by light spreading from over here. That's not quite the way, I might be able to write something that that would predict that from happening. I mean, I would have to write another check for every, like saying that if a texture is facing away from the light source, then don't illuminate it. But I don't know. That's for another time. What's important now is that if you look at the floor here, light spreads from well, there's a light source over here, right? You can see there's a diagonal line ever so slightly over here. In the previous version, it would just be, I mean, it would be bright here as well. This would be lit up because it did not take into account geometry at all. So I'm very pleased about that. Now, I think we have everything in place, like we have all the tools in place. It's just I have to kind of adjust them correctly, if you like. Have to fine-tune them so that they actually do what they're supposed to do. But now I think all the tools, all the fundamental mechanics are in place. That was the last thing, the thing I was trying to do yesterday, which was hampered by a bug that I didn't find the solution to until very late at night, was to just make it possible to apply these new techniques in a way that made sense. So let's do that. How are all you people? Also, TCAP, actually I think I read on your profile there, but yeah, I can't remember what it is you make. Sorry, I should click pause. About tower defense game, right, custom engine in C++. Now I remember. Okay. So there's a lot to take into account here, but you can. You made your roads work, nice. Oh, I think you mentioned that, yeah, like yesterday. That's what you were working on. So when you say you made your roads work, in what sense? So I can imagine I program roads for for Shimmering Fates, and there were two aspects to programming roads. One, well, there were several, but two main aspects. One was to, since I had a randomly generated worlds, I had to program, make the roads go somewhere, pick a reasonable route to their target. So when the roads were laid out, but I'm guessing you're not doing that. I think what you're referring to is probably that units follow the roads, or prefer following the roads, or something like that. Left click sets the first position, mouse cursor in the second position. What? There is a third position calculated to make it an L shape. Okay, I lack context here. I have no idea what that means. I mean, I know what all those words mean, but let's see. Left click sets the first position. Mouse cursor is the second position. What do you... There is a third position. There is a third position calculated to make it an L shape. I'm trying to imagine this. That's how a road is made on a grid. Okay, now, okay. Right, so, yeah, context. So what you're talking about is making a road, designating a start and an end, and then the road being laid out between those points. Am I right? So left click means you click where you want the road to start, and then you mouse cursor is the second position, means as you move your mouse, you know, wherever your mouse cursor is where the road is to end. Third position calculated to make it an L shape. Okay, so your roads are always like angular, like that. So if you have a long stretch like that, will it always be like that, or will it be like a staircase shape, or I got there in the end. Always be L. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Well, I know the satisfaction of that. Actually, that reminds me much more of. I was programming the last thing I was working on for my Shimmering Fates, like turn-based combat for my role-playing game. For those of you who don't know, I never finished that game. I started working on this instead. This is over a year ago. But anyway, I was working on pathfinding, like, so if you had selected a character on the combat, like turn-based tactical group against group combat grid. Well, my grid was hexagonal. you could select different options, and when it was relevant, so if you were going to throw a grenade and you moved your cursor, you would be seeing if it was within range, like the hexagons would light up if it was within range, and they would like light up the area that would be affected by the blast. But if you wanted to walk, for example, or move your character, but there were obstacles in the way, then it would calculate, like it would calculate a route to that point and light up the path, like it does in so many games, like you've seen. Strategical games, you'll see, okay, if you want to walk here, your character will walk this route. So what you did today reminds me of when I was coding that. And happily at that point, no, did I have the no? Eventually I did find I used Dijkstra's pathfinding traveling salesman algorithm, but I tried to solve it myself. That's one of those things I did not manage to solve myself in a good way. I did come up with a few pathfinding algorithms, but they were ugly. Not so. Eventually, I relented and used the one of the more common methods there. But that was satisfying in and of itself. Just applying it to a hexagonal grid was still a challenge, and very, very satisfying once it worked. Okay, so so now you can make towns with roads. You already had buildings. So do units follow roads if you have them? Or will that come later? I should check. So what I want to do today, I need to... That's the plan, yeah. I don't have a good way. I didn't have a good way of doing that. My method was essentially this, but mine was simple. I didn't have to worry much because every road had one beginning and one end. There were no, I mean, the roads did connect, but when a unit set out from a, if you look at my shimmering face, when a caravan sets out from one town, it already knows which way it's going, which town it's going to. It has a predefined destination. And so actually, it's not really following the roads. It is, but it's not following it's not choosing its next step based on what is around it or anything. It's not making a decision. It's just following a set of coordinates. So every road is just a set of coordinates, of course, like distinct points on the map. And when a unit chooses a destination, the place a unit is in, like the town, it will have every road going out from it is an array. So you can just choose, and I want to go to this town. So essentially, you just pick a route from an array of routes. I'm going to follow this one, and then that unit sort of I don't think it copies the route. It just sort of refers to the route and go. So it just uses an index to that array and go, okay, my next destination, next step I'm going to be in this position, and then next step I'm going to be in this position, next step in this position. So that was very, very basic. I don't know if you do that because I guess your towns will be laid out in a more, I mean, you can decide how you build them, I guess. So they can be very irregular and have loads of roads branching off to different destinations, etc. That's an interesting problem, honestly. It gets me thinking, what's the best way of having a unit follow a road and find which road is most efficient? I guess you can use, just use a pathfinding algorithm for that. Yeah, actually that would work. I won't spoil it for you. I would use the same method I did for laying out the roads, I think. laying down the roads. I think I would pre-calculate, like if a unit is going from one place to another, I would say, okay, calculate to begin with and then lay out a series of coordinates or something. Presuming that it's a relatively short distance. Those problems are fun. I just got carried away thinking about it now. Like a to-do list today, I want to do... So one, I have to change the way the tree is laid out. Well, I don't have to, but I should at some point. The way the tree is built, because I want to include a bit more information in it. Although that could be like the final cherry on top towards the end, so as to make the light throw... a light source throw light in a more spherical-ish manner. Because now light diminishes with distance, but it's measured in like in x, y, and z axes. The distances. It's not measured in absolute distance. So if you measure on the diagonal, you will have the light will travel further diagonally than it will orthogonally, which isn't pretty, but I think we'll fix that towards the end. It should be relatively easy. And then the main problem is in where we apply the light, which is still in here. I believe like set light recursively. It's somewhere in here. A couple of functions here, and illumination state as well. These are going to be different. They are going to make changes here, not differences. I'm going to apply the light differently. I think illumination state should be... let's look at that one. That's a level block function. So I have secondary light, primary lights, primary on secondary, and don't bother anymore, right? That don't bother anymore is fine. Yeah, that's good. That's still proper. Secondary light. Yeah, I guess. Do we need that? Primary light. Yeah, we need to... Yes, because we need to use that. Primary light, yes. Primary on secondary, does that make a difference? Anymore. Did it before? They'll just turn it into primary light, right? Yes, it will. And carry on from there. So looking at what we return, where do I return 3, 4 there, 2, 1, 2. No, sorry. Return 4, return 2, return 0. No, I have 5, no light. What? Oh, it means there is no light here, right? But shouldn't that turn it into a 1, like secondary light? Confused. We'll look at that. Where is the 3? Here. If same light source, light intensity is 1, and if it is primary, okay. Set to 2, return 3. And going back here, what do I do with a 3? Then we do adjusted. Yeah, we don't need that one, I don't think. Anymore. I'll do that so I know what I had before. Turn primary. It's now primary light. If it is 1, but what shouldn't this also else return 3? Or we, if light intensity is 1, well, that could be 4, like the don't bother thing, which I guess I'll change to 3 if this makes sense. Because if it is greater than, this must mean that it's if it is already primary, then we've already sent light away from the. And this tells us that we should treat it as primary. That's why we return a 1 and not a 2. It's weird that I return a 2 here then, isn't it? Because no matter what, it would turn into a primary. So it seems to me, actually, like I should do that. And that adds up to be primary, no matter what. Except in the case that it's already been conducting primary light. Back here does not equal the light ID. If it's not 0, then we have to check if this space is already sort of full of light, return 4. Otherwise, increase the index and set the current light ID to that place. Otherwise, if it's not the same but it is 0, then just set it. Then, if primary, set it to 2, return 2, and just is the same. I mean, 2 and 0 behave the same way. Isn't that a bit weird? Because it is half light, it's not 0 light. Confused there. Yeah, but if it is primary, of course, I'm not sure. Confused. I have to return here later because I'm going to treat light differently. Thing is, if it is, let's see here, we set the light, that's okay still. The thing I want to do is, if it is secondary light, we should not continue. That's primary, right? send primary light. If state is not equal to return. Right, going back to this illumination state. If, let's see, if primary, return 2. Yes. Return 2 there, return 2 there. Otherwise return 4 or 0. I think that'll help, because now I don't want the light to spread too much. I guess I have to. The thing I want to do is actually include information in the tree about how far something is from the source. Wait, don't I have that stored here? Yes, I have this bx, by, bz. But having that pre-calculated would of course be useful. So, create light cast map. Why don't I call that create ray tree? Ray tree. View. Apply. Wait, what? It didn't change here. I don't understand that. I'm using that rename function wrong, aren't I? Because it didn't rename this instance. How peculiar. Anywhere, anyway. I hadn't come up with the word or name ray tree at the time. So I guess that's why I call it a light cast map. I have like a geometry class, I call it. Apparently not. Not here anyway. Is it in the vector class or vertex class? Get absolute distance. But it doesn't take coordinates, so it must be something else. Calculate relative distances. That could be useful. Didn't I have... I'm sure I have some other... like just... get absolute... What about this one? Distance... Oh, in that sense, it doesn't calculate, just returns it. Okay, never mind. Also, that has to do with that specific vertex. geometry. Yeah, it seems like it would be the perfect place for it. Get distance between vertices. Idiot. Return distance. Okay, good. We can use that. Excellent. Do I have a reference to geometry here? I don't, but that shouldn't be a problem. Actually, let's see if we can use it, because one of these might already have one. Oh, right, light space and whatnot. How will I handle that? Well, anyway. Distance, they're called distance. Right. Oh, I had it referenced there, yes. Trig. Calculate. Get distance between vertices. 0, 0, 0. X times. Oh, right. Is that also in geometry? I think so. Default cube width. You know what? We will set up a little. Is that an integer? Yep. We can save it as C S F as in cube side, just for short. That's it. And then of course we have to do something similar for all of them. Check insert light space. I call it something different. I did. Hello, Loiko. Welcome. Such a rare beast around these parts. Okay, thank you. But now it's about time we do some shout-outs here. I'll start with TCAP, who so graciously raided me earlier, but there was no one here back then. Yes, it is late. Are you you work as a waiter, or am I misremembering that? So that's TCAP, and then we have shout to Devro. These are fellow game devs here on Twitch. I've never seen a TCAP stream yet, but they've raided me twice this weekend. So. And I will do a Loiku, who is an ardent game jam participator. He makes loads and loads of games. Sometimes he streams development. Doing traffic control this whole week at a horse show. Oh, okay, interesting. Well, maybe it isn't so interesting. I think I can picture like directing people where to go, where to park and stuff like that. I've been to enough of those similar events, including some horse shows. Let's see here. Did I miss any? MCSIV, much better. Yeah, welcome to the chat, by the way. Yeah, so if you ever hear that clicking noise, it's the camera, which has trouble focusing in the sparse light here. Miserably addicted to game jams. Yeah, that seems accurate. Flop to bed almost directly. Sounds kind of nice. There are some people here right now. I'll just... Oh, that's the wrong film. I was showing that yesterday. I was doing debugging because it was getting boring, and then eventually I just ended the stream. Dink. Yes, whatever. That's the proper one. That's the game I'm working with, who might be new here. Right now I'm working on some lighting. Dink, I think. That's still correct. Plus XV is right. Yes, okay. And then, and thus, so we'll exchange these for dink, and we put a Z and a Y there. Yeah, so what this is a kind of, it's making a tree structure, which I call a ray tree. It's pre-calculated rays, you might say, with diffusion from an arbitrary point in space. So it's the rays are relative to any point you care to use. This it's sort of a template you can use on a position to derive rays. It's like light rays. So you're going to use it to primarily calculate how light disperses. In the demo you see down there, it's applied extremely crudely, just a cube shape around the light source, which is, in this case is the player, because the player has a little oil lamp turned on. And I'm doing that. I'm trying to do that differently. Been working on it for a few weeks now. Well, a few weekends. Getting very close to making it work. Actually, it's kind of partially working already. So it's not really ray. I don't really know if I should call it. Some people say ray tracing. Some say ray casting. Some say ray walking. There are all these expressions, and I don't know if there is a difference between them, and if so, what that difference is. And I mean, in my case, what I do know is that I do it very crudely. I do it through huge spaces. One step along a ray is very large, a very large step. Whereas I think mostly any ray casting or tracing or such happens on a finer scale than I'm using. Stay off game jams for now. Will, I want to draw some anime stuff for a change. Also got some old projects to continue. Okay, yeah. Hope you will share what you make. Okay, so we've saved some, at least we have saved some distance, which I hope is correctly calculated here. I think so. We'll see. Well, I know that this function is correct. I'm just hoping I gave it the right arguments. But that's probably right, and we should be able to use that. Oh, that's one thing I haven't done. So this will give us very, like, relatively speaking, precise distances. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sleep well. Thank you for dropping by. It's so rare. It's a nice surprise. You lead different lives, that's for certain. Wow, I do that sometimes, but it is rare. And I do actually enjoy waking up early. It's not that I don't like going to bed early, it's that by this time of day, I usually get really creative. And I don't want to let go once I'm there. And then sometimes it happens that I have a bug, which, you know, I discover at 1 o'clock or 12:30. And then I can't sleep until I solve it, which was the case yesterday. And then once I had solved it, I was excited that I had solved it, so I couldn't sleep anyway. I didn't think I fell asleep until like 5:30 this morning. Not optimal, but there we go. I do envy you a bit. Right, I want to reduce this to tenths. These distances should be reduced to tenths between 0 and 1. So, you know, if it is between 0.1 and 0.2, it should be reduced to 0.1. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Indeed. I have had work where so when I had work that started that early, or where I had to get up that early, I would just sleep in the daytime instead, after work. But admittedly, that was not whole day work. That was just like paperboy type paper distribution. So it would be a couple of hours of work. Well, I guess total maybe 3 hours worth of work. The round was like, depending on how my record, I think was 1 hour, but usually it took me about 2. I broke my record when I was late to my round, and I ran the whole thing, pushing my little cart full of newspapers. But usually I took about 2 hours, quite calm work. You just had to finish by a specific time in the morning, and you had all the time you wanted between the time the papers were delivered. It was usually about, I don't know, 4:30, 5, and you should be done by 7 or so. Oh, that is taxing for certain. I've had weeks like that, but yeah, that makes you tired. No, that's not. Is that before taxes though? That must be before taxes, right? Yeah. Yeah, I still don't think. I mean, and I calculate what I get after taxes, of course, because that's what's relevant to me usually. So maybe I actually have made that much. Actually quite often. After taxes, no. Before taxes, probably yes. Because I worked almost exclusively nights and weekends. Like not exclusively weekends, but I worked loads, so many weekends and always nights. So of course, and quite often 12-hour shifts. Very often, in fact. You have 1% tax. I see. Didn't think that sort of return existed. I had a job where I paid less taxes, but that's because my employer wasn't paying taxes on my salary. That was happily a long time ago. Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. Yeah. So effectively, you actually do pay more taxes then. It's just delaying something. Hello, Balpi. Yeah, I do remember your name, but for some reason, Streamlabs considers you a new. Someone was a new chatter or not, and that's been a while. So it must be a while since you were here. I have to say though, apart from your name, I don't remember anything about you. So feel free to reintroduce yourself if you have anything you want to share. Right, that's I was doing. I have to actually do something with this distance that I've calculated. I mean, it's interesting. I actually like one of my greatest pleasures, like feels fresh, you know. Oh, okay, yeah. I see. Yeah, I actually still hang out in Hudo streams once in a while. He switched to a different platform. Do you have his? Thank you. Do dream about game dev. Let's see. Can give you a link to his current place. He streams at a place called WASD nowadays. Hello, MacGyver. Yeah, so if you want to see him, you can see him there. He still streams. Tad tricky to make. I don't remember how I did it. it's a completely Russian website, so making a user account was guesswork. But I managed to, so I'm guessing you could too. I don't know. I actually don't remember. Maybe you speak Russian. That would help, I'm sure. If you drop in and write something English in chat, he's still happy to chat away. He's playing Pathfinder, the latest Pathfinder RPG at the moment, except on Fridays when he's playing. Well, now he's playing Subnautica, or he was last Friday. How are you, MacGyver? Yes, we've seen enough of that for now. Smart way to reduce this to... I can do something like... This is so hacky, but I think this might work. Hero Dev is raiding with a party of 41. Wow. Hope you enjoy the bug parade. Raiders, welcome. And Rachel as well. Well, as is standard nowadays, although I just showed this. Welcome, Raiders. I'll show this demo of mine to you. This is my game dev stream. I'm working on this game here, which is a sword and sorcery FPS. That demo is the pre-alpha version. I'm working on the alpha. Once the alpha is done, I will release it so you can play it for free. Alpha was a rewrite of engine and game almost from scratch. Not really. Of course, reusing lots of code, but essentially polishing or rewriting everything. Getting very close to finishing that today, and since several weekends, working on a new way to calculate lights. This is a software rendered engine, so you have to. I'm learning new ways all the time of figuring out new ways of doing things. Sometimes doing things more efficiently, sometimes just doing new and cool things in a way that actually still works within the engine. Lots of fun. Let's see here, a bunch of people here. Let's see, Andre MLV, thank you. Let's see, some guys followed, some people followed. Let's see, that was Andre. Crimson XX Mana, or Crimson 20 Mana, or something like that. Thank you. Moonshell and Andre, thank you very much for following, and thank you so much for the raid. So Hero, what were you working on? If I may ask, I want to check out your channel. Am I familiar with your channel at all? Yeah, I think I am. Your face looks familiar. I think I know you. Come to think of it. Or do I? Let's see here. What is it you do? Henry, I love C and low-level programming. I'm a hobby and professional game dev. We are writing C compiler for the GPU to replace GLSL. Well, wait. Were you here just the other day? Why don't I remember your name more vividly? That's weird. I'm so sorry for that. Very sorry. If indeed you were here and I forgot. Anyway, let me give you a little shout out. Hero. There you go. And again, thank you so much for raiding. I very much appreciate it. Yeah, so that's my standard intro. If you have questions, or standard introduction of the project, if you have questions, do feel free to ask. I'll answer if I can and if I want to. Meaning if the questions seem relevant and are non-offensive and stuff like that. I was right. We'll do int. Yeah. Oh, right, Balpi had said something. But a question to you, I'm thinking about studying coding around 10 hours a week. Should I start from Java or is it so hard? Oh, I don't know anything about Java. Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because you're only a beginner once, essentially. You're only a complete beginner with when it comes to programming at one point in your life. So you only have one time to start. And I looked it up online, like read a little bit about it, and from the descriptions, it sounded like, well, it seems like it'll teach me. People said, it'll teach you a little bit about. It'll be a decent way of learning about a computer, like how computers work fundamentally, and it's kind of low level but also powerful. And oh, that sounds good, and so I went. Off I went. I don't know if another language would be better for learning. I've had a blast with C++, and personally, I don't think that I've had any from the scene of other programming languages. I haven't seen that they would be necessarily easier to learn. I think what's going on, but that's actually, I remember whenever I worked in, or the first time I worked in assembly language, I thought to myself, I wish I'd started here. But that's because of what I wanted to learn. Maybe someone else doesn't care about that stuff and doesn't think that's interesting. So it depends on what you want. The only time I thought, I wish I'd started here instead, was when I studied assembly language. Every other time it's been, oh, okay, I might as well have started here, but seems like C++ was just as good a place to start as here. That's my take on that. Some cool rendering. I know C and Python have experience in Lisp and in SML. I've heard of SML, I don't know anything about it. Yeah, I don't exact. It depends on what you're programming, I think. I mean, again, I can't say that I've experienced any problem with, personally, I have not experienced any problem with C++ that I haven't also experienced with other programming languages. Or of course, some other programming languages give you different problems, but and I think it depends very much on what kind of person you are, like what things you find difficult. I much prefer to write my own solutions to just about everything, and C++ lets me do that quite easily. It's like a set, to me, C++ is like a set of it doesn't just have the most fundamental, if you think of assembly language as having like the most fundamental Lego pieces, if we compare to Lego, so assembly language is just the basic Lego pieces, like 5 different types at most, or something like that. That's what it feels like to me. You can build anything with them, but you have to, like, if you want to build an arch, you have to construct the arch yourself. Whereas with a slightly more advanced or sophisticated set, there might be arches already and doors and stuff like that. But you still have to, if you want a house, there is no house, you have to build a house, but there are doors and windows and arches and maybe a chimney. And in some even higher level language, you have houses. So, okay, I want a house, I want to build a city now. It's easier to build a city if you have houses already, like ding, 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 ding. I like the control, really like the control of having just the fundamental pieces. I would say C++ has more than just the fundamental pieces, but you can limit yourself quite easily to just the fundamental pieces. They're there for you to play with if you want to just select them. Some programming languages didn't feel like that to me. I recently started learning C, which gives the same feeling, but C has fewer pieces than C++, but that appeals to me. So I think I might turn to like C better. I don't know, eventually. But that said, I think it's smart to ask around a little bit and maybe ask something along those lines. What kind of Lego set is it, or something along those lines? And try to find which language sort of corresponds to what it is you want to do. Because if you want to build really big applications and you don't want to get stuck in like, oh, how do I draw a circle? You're not interested in that. You want to make a game, an MMO. Maybe that's not where you want to be. You want to work on a higher level. And you'll still have problems, like plenty of them, to solve. You'll have plenty of problems to solve. They'll just be of a different nature. Anyway, let me catch up here on follows and stuff. MadFlash19, thank you so much. And do I need to learn OpenGL or some things like SDL or SFML? I don't know still what SDL or SFML. Didn't Hero Programmer write that he was working in SDL? You don't need to. I don't use anything like that. But I think I don't use any rendering. I think it helps with performance if you want to. Already writing C, C++. I know that C++ includes C, but it is different to work in one and the other. So you can do things in C++, at least, okay, I've only worked in C for like a couple of weeks, but there are several things that I'm used to doing in C++ that I kind of expected I could do in C, but couldn't. So I've had to relearn some stuff. So from my point of view, it's not quite the same. I knew that one is built, largely on top of C++ built largely on top of C, but there was a bigger difference than I thought. Okay, but this is just with a couple of weeks worth of experience, so my opinion may change with time. Let's see here. I hope I'm not missing something here. I have experience in both C++ and Java. Java is simpler, more complex syntax, also requires better understanding of memory models and memory handling. Language of choice for many game engines. Yeah, right. I must call it, I just call it reinvent the wheel all the time effect. Yeah, I absolutely suffer from that. I love reinventing wheels. It's one of my greatest pleasures. Really, it is. Sometimes I have to give up and use a wheel someone else made, but usually I can get by with my own. Moonshell. What do I use for handling windowing? I'm not sure what you mean by windowing. Like to create the window? Are you talking about just how I create the program window? Let's see here. Alienated worker. Oh, I remember you from yesterday, I think. C++ including C is a sort of common misconception. Maybe at some point it was true, but not anymore. The specifications have diverged quite a bit. A lot of stuff in C missing from C++ that annoys me sometimes. That's primarily a C dev. Subtly undefined behaviors. That's too advanced for me. I haven't gotten that far into either language to say anything meaningful about it, I think. I don't know what GLFW is, Moonshell. Let's see, I can just show you guys. Let's turn the video off, and I think you've seen it. And trust me, if you hang around here a bit, you'll see it until you don't want to anymore. So what to create the window, essentially what I did is I went to Microsoft Docs and found a tutorial on how to create a window, and you can more or less copy paste that code. I believe also that I found someone on YouTube made a tutorial about it once. I do it in this file here, and this is mostly copy pasted stuff with some one or two changes based also off of tutorials. I usually don't mess around with this because I don't understand most of it. This is it. Like I've inserted one, like there is I mean this is a modification, show cursor false. It's quite self-explanatory though. There I run a startup section. I inserted a startup routine there which sets up some data structures and such that I use in my program, and then here we go, the regular message loop. This is all basic Windows API, Win API stuff. And again, it's 90% of this at least is copy pasted. Don't ask me what about it. I know almost nothing about it. I knew more at one point, but I've used this one for several programs now for years, so I'm almost embarrassed to look at it. I guess at some point I hope more interesting to me. Let's see here. My wheel is not cross-platform. That's true. It is not a off-road wheel. It's a very specialized wheel. It runs only on indoor tracks that are coated with Kevlar or something. I think for a software render, everything is an overkill to use. Everything? I don't know what you mean by that, but I know you were addressing Moonshot. Maybe it was irrelevant to me. SDL is a library that handles GPU calls as well as all the other game-centric stuff, audio, keyboard, mouse, joysticks, etc. Hello, Crimson. Try a character pointer x malloc 30 in C++ and get back. It is a compiler error in C++, but not C. Okay. Yeah. Let's not get too passionate about truths and such about various programs. I mean, these are things you can look up and see if they're true or not. Well, let's not litter chat with an argument about whether or not one language is contained in another. Just a pure create window EX is more than enough. Henkiz and MCSIV, thank you guys for following. I will get back to coding once I've caught up, I hope. Most of the time, SDL, SFML, GLFW is used to create a window in any OS by one function call, but they provide other functionality too. That sounds very handy. Indeed. You can replace that 60 line of code to support one more OS. Is he using anything like OpenGL, SDI? Are you talking about me, MadFlash, in the third person? No, sitting right here. I'm not. Sorry, I followed and was doing laundry, so I was delaying in chatting. No problem at all. No problem at all. Yeah, no, I'm not using anything like that. Super quick explanation of how it works. Essentially, I do rendering onto data structures that I made myself, and then finally what I do is when I finished rendering, I put that onto a bitmap, and then I tell the program to use a so-called bitblit function, which is a GPU function, and which transfers the image and then updates the window. But everything before that point is software. Windows API, yes. Hello, Pale Blue. Nice stash. I'm hoping that's a comment on this beautiful creature. Although mine is nowhere near as sophisticated as your swirly thing there. I was thinking of trying that this time. This is usually as far as my mustaches go. I tend to get very tired of and annoyed with them after 3-4 months. Who knows? Maybe this time is the time. There is that super annoying time when it's too long to be like contained above your mouth, so it hangs down over your mouth, but it's not really long enough to twist sideways. Guess I have to get more adept with wax and stuff like that. We'll see. Right, so we have that, and it was going to be multiplied by 10 actually. Yes, Barracuda. Tis indeed. Essentially, all of the rendering is CPU. I mean, the only thing that happens on the GPU is that bitblit function, which is just like a memcopy function. Just take this chunk of memory, the image part of the bitmap, just move it over there. That's all it does. Wouldn't it? Oh, right. I forgot you were here, Rachel. There were so many people chatting. How are you? Sorry about that. Maybe you answered that and I just lost that. Okay. It would take commitment. I met a guy in school recently who had one like that. Yeah, so I've tried once or twice before getting that far, but always grew tired of it, so I don't think I have the patience for it. So I want to do that. Yes, multiply by 10. So I'm doing this. This is the fastest way I can think of to get a severely reduced in complexity. And even here. We'll see if this all works. We'll see if it compiles and what happened. And inspect the data structure. Came in with the raid and enjoyed the recap. Oh, raid from Hero Dev? I assume then. Crimson Mana, what are you trying to do? It has to do with lights. I'll explain it in a moment. Okay. Pointer, cursor, maybe not. Try. Really? Okay. Why? I'm confused by that. Actually, let's look at this light map. I should do it in here. Ah, this one's ridiculous, but that's why. although I'm not sure why. I think we'll put this inside this. I think we'll try that. Yeah, I'm actually not familiar with how to do that, so I'll hold off on it. I should probably learn how to do that, but I think I know what the problem is. So. What we're doing is save right now. I'm just saving. I'm creating a tree structure which calculates or which contains pre-calculated rays radiating from one point, which I'm using to spread light, or going to use. Well, I am already doing it. It's just it's not done yet. Hopefully, if you stick around a little bit more, you'll see how it looks at the moment. If it already exists, it should already be calculated. So here, though, yes, something like that. Right. Sal 4928, thank you. Thank you very much. And of course we need default cube width, right? Like that, maybe. It means every time we use the check. Insert lights, we don't need to do this, hopefully. Camerets, first time chatter, hello. Did you steal your name from the French-German television channel, or did they steal it from you? Which part of it? I don't know of a television channel. So the name Arte Birklaus, or Arte is just Italian for art. So Birklaus is a name I came up with when I was like 12. That would be 1994-ish. To sign my paintings, because I thought it was cool. Yeah, I like the idea of having an artist name, a nom de plume. So I came up with that. It's kind of a play on my actual names, some of my actual names. From the mind of a 12-year-old, it's not super clever, but but I like it. the BitClouse part. And then in 2009, when I wanted to start a small business in order to promote and sell my artwork, I wanted to call it something, and so I stuck the Italian word for art in front of BitClouse. That's how the name came from, or how the name came about. You say it's a French-German television channel. What are they focused on, art or documentaries? No, I have no idea. The frame stack usually appears when where the output window is. You just double click on the frame above the one it broke on and it will jump backwards. Yeah, I'll thank you for the tip. I'll try to remember to learn about that at some point. It sounds very useful. The only thing I know how to do properly is like go to the latest proper place in the call stack. I don't know if that's what you mean. Maybe that's what you mean actually. The latest place that had any, or where the program failed in the call stack. That I use that very often. Maybe that's what you mean. Then I just didn't know the way you expressed it. Okay, well, let's try and run it again and see if it behaves this time. Nope. I know. So, for example, we could go here. Oh, wow, seriously? There, okay. Oh! Okay. Oh, such a weird. So, again, this reinventing the wheel stuff, one of the things I reinvented was I have my own, like, you could call it equivalent of, what are they called again? Sine and cosine functions. Good grief. Yeah, anyway. I kind of wrote it. It's not exactly the same thing as those, but almost. The way I use them, I made something I called a protractor. But, so this, I told this function to use, like the ray, where are we? Hello? Main, here we go. So, I'm asking the program to create a ray tree here. But I haven't initialized or loaded, where do I do? Create tables. I think it's this one. No, it's not that one. Yeah, here, load protractor. So, also, this isn't really testing anymore, but I have to do this later. Can't do it here because it's dependent on those. I have those saved in data files, and they need to be loaded here. So let's do it after, shall we? That should help. Here we go. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't check the call stack. Honestly, I guess I thought I knew where the problem was. I absolutely did not. But there we go. And you're right, it's super useful. Ever since I learned using that, it's one of my most used tools. I don't know. Crimson? Because I don't know what counts as new standard. I'm guessing that by STD you mean standard library. I don't know what counts as new in that. I can only think of... I mean, vectors aren't new, but I'm guessing they're updated all the time, aren't they? I use that. I use strings. Those aren't new either, though. I mean, things that I know that I use from the standard library are vectors and strings. Can't think of anything else. And I don't have I don't declare using standard library. So every time I do access something from the standard library, I have to write std : ahead of it. So probably not, but not sure. Dink. Distance. Oh, that didn't go very well, did it? 1730. Uh-huh. No, wait, that does make